Let's roll, baby. Welcome into the Week 11 edition of Ringer Wise Guys right here on FanDuel TV. The boys are ready to rock. We got our betting cards ready to go, and we're ready to break down a monster Sunday of action. We welcome in Cousin Sal. We welcome in Joe House and Raheem Palmer. You know, Cousin Sal, I needed a blessing from a wise guy maybe to get my season turned around. So I paid a trip to Tony Soprano's house yesterday, hoping that maybe Tony and some of the wise guy blood could rub off so I have a monster Sunday.
Did you bring the newspaper at the foot of the driveway to the door? Did you get any orange juice? What was it? It was an experience, huh?
Well, you got to make sure if you're going to get orange juice for Tony, some pulp.
That's
right. You got to remember that. You can't get it without pulp. You got to make sure you get it with some
Carmelo
pulp.
learned the hard way. Yeah.
Oh, Carmelo learned the hard way, and then she paid it back and then some. House, are you bummed about the fact that you can no longer give out the Cincinnati Bengals as like your pick of the week? Because I feel like you went on a 5-week heater taking the Bengals, and now with Joe Burrow unfortunately done for the year, I guess that's out, buddy.
I'm bummed to have one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league out, for the best.
Burrow and House. Burrow and House both out.
You never know what could happen with Wi-Fi connections, Raheem. Raheem, what are you looking forward to in Week 11?
Well, I'll tell you, maybe House is bummed, but I'm not bummed because I'm all about the money. I mean, cash rules everything around me, and I gave out the Cincinnati Bengals under 11.5 wins. I gave them out under 9.5 wins when he suffered that injury to start the year, and I also gave him out to miss the postseason. So while I hate to see guys get injured, I like to see my bets win.
Look how much he hates it. That smile couldn't be wider. Yeah, look, that's how much he hates seeing guys get injured. So sad.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. But, Raheem, you are going to cash that wager. There's no doubt about it. We got a lot cooking on this edition of Ringer Wise Guys. The boys will have their wisest wagers. That's coming up in a matter of moments. We will take a look at the futures board and the futures odds that have changed dramatically because of what has transpired here with Joe Burrow and the fact that he is done for the year. And we'll have our buddy Kevin O'Connor. Remember him? He's got all this great stuff going on with the Ringer NBA stuff. So he's going to give us some picks in digital time. And the guys, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, will be putting together their Ringer Wise Guy family meal from a wagering standpoint. You'll see what the boys are bringing to the table. Sal, I have high expectations for you. I'm just throwing that out there.
You really shouldn't.
Well, I do. Here's what we got coming up, guys. It's time to wisen up. Sal, red hot, wisening up. Floor is yours. As we wait for Joe House to eventually join us back, you might as well start.
All right. Browns, Steelers. Listen, I gave it last week. The Bills were terrible. That was my best bet. I had them on a teaser, and they were awful. But this week, I'm betting on terrible. I'm betting the under in the Browns-Steelers game, 32.5 points. You have Kenny Pickett. You have Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I don't know. Maybe he added a name since this morning. I'm not sure. I don't expect anything explosive from these guys except maybe diarrhea from Kenny Pickett when Myles Garrett and Dalvin Tomlinson and Zadarius Smith are bearing down on him. That could be what's going on here. Matt Canada, an ineffective game plan. I'm sure it better not include passing for Kenny Pickett because the Browns are top 5, not this year, top 5 in the last 20 years against the pass. Lots of running. Ford, Jalen Warren, what do we got? Harris. It's going to be a boring game, probably 10-7 late in the fourth quarter. Who's winning? Who cares? I have the under, and I think I lost value already. It was 33.5, 32.5. But like I said, this might not even get to 20.
It is going to be a gross football game, and we'll see if the Steelers can actually outgain somebody. But regardless of that fact, it hasn't mattered. They're 6-3, and they're finding ways to win. I'm with you, Sal. Gross written all over it when it comes to the Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Now, House, you ditched us. So that means you owe us. You owe us big. Don't let me down now with your wisest wager. What do you got for me, buddy?
JJ, I'm sorry. My internet was so upset about Joe Burrow's injury that we had to have a conversation. I'm back, and I'm back to give out a winner here. Now, predictably, this game hit the limit of what I was willing to play. It's the Miami Dolphins laying 14 points at home against these Vegas Raiders. And look, the Dolphins are bullies. They pick on the weak, JJ. They've won all 4 of their home games this season by 14 points at least. They're 3-0 as a double-digit favorite under Mike McDaniel. They're very good at home in general, 18-5-2 against the spread. Tua as a double-digit favorite, 5-0 straight up, 4-1 against the spread. But this one really boils down to a couple things. One, I don't think people are really calibrating how good this Dolphins defense can be. We have our focus properly on the offense, and there is lots to commend that offense. But this defense has very quietly started holding opposing offenses below their expected performance. I think that's going to continue as they get bodies back, and they finally have an opportunity, especially with this bye week, to install the Vic Fangio defense the way that he imagines it. This is really a fade also of Aiden O'Connell. I think that he is going to run into some trouble. Congratulations to the Raiders for getting Josh McDaniel out of their life. Congratulations to my guy, Antonio Pierce. Congratulations for taking care of business against Zach Wilson and Tommy DeVito. This Dolphins team ain't that. I'm okay with laying the 2 touchdowns today, fellas.
You know, I think Hal's trying to get back into my good graces after leaving us early in the show by picking my favorite team. But I agree with you. I think the spot screams Miami. I think the fact that the market, as you see on FanDuel, all the way up to 14, this line opened at 10 and 10.5. The market is moving with my guy, Joe House. Devin Achan is back. Dolphin defense off a bye. This better be for them a lay the smackdown type of game. Okay, Raheem, your wisest wager, sir. What do we got?
I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals plus 5.5 against the Houston Texans. Houston Texans, they're fat and happy right now. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals last week, but they now find themselves in the unfamiliar role as a favorite. When you look at the preseason look-ahead line on this game, it was Texans minus 1.5, so it feels like the market has over-adjusted. C.J. Stroud playing out of his mind. He's made 9 NFL starts thus far. He's 5-1 against the spread as an underdog, but just 0-3 against the spread as a favorite. They were 1-point favorites against the Colts, 3.5-point favorites against the Panthers, and 2.5-point favorites against the Buccaneers. They lost outright against the Colts and the Panthers, and they failed to cover against the Buccaneers, and they probably should have lost that game. It took a miracle C.J. Stroud comeback for them to pull that off. You look at this Texas defense, 21st in EPA per play, 25th in drop back EPA per play, and guess who's back? Kyler Murray, 281 total yards last week, 250 passing, 32 on the ground. So I expect Kyler Murray to be able to keep up with C.J. Stroud. More importantly, James Conner is also back, and he's going to be able to run the ball in this Texas defense, 21st in EPA per play, 28th in rushing success rate. And they also lost Denzel Perriman. So I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals plus 5.5.
Well, Raheem, I like it. It might be a part of the show for you as truly a little bit later on. You're going to have to wait and see. And Sal, don't you get the sense with Houston, after their win against Burrow and the Bengals, they are kind of profiling in that like team of the week category? I know it's not like the Texans is one of the best teams in the NFL, but they kind of got a lot of love. Everybody all over them. I feel like this, to Raheem's point, is a great opportunity to go and sell on the Texans.
Absolutely. Raheem laid it out perfectly. They played to the level of the competition. It was only a couple of weeks ago they lost that game to the Panthers, who, you know, could be the worst team in all of football that we've seen in the last couple of years. But yes, it's such a collision here between the big buzz team and the team that's getting no credit and being accused of tanking. And I am here to say that there's no tanking in the NFL. Tanking is just something basketball fans talk about to make them feel good about their sport. Say, oh, NFL does it too. No, not the case. Take the Cards. Raheem's right, plus 5.5. And KOC, if you don't like that, I'm sorry. You could bail out a digital hour. You could leave if you want. I'm sorry. There's no tanking in the NFL.
Unless maybe Tommy DeVito is your quarterback.
Oh, yeah,
that might be the only way you end up tanking. But we'll save that for the Giants and the Commanders. Fellas, my wisest wager, I'm going with Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. Getting it done, laying 1.5 against the Seattle Seahawks. You look historically, the Rams and McVay have had great success against Pete Carroll and Seattle. If you look at a lot of the trends when McVay is coaching a game and the line is moving with McVay, the way this game has moved, opened at Seattle -1. Now over at FanDuel, you got the Rams laying 1.5. McVay is like hitting like 70 or 75% of the spread when indeed the line moves with him to this sort of nth degree. And I just think with the Rams, they're getting Matthew Stafford back. I think they're going to be more explosive offensively. And I just have not been enamored at all with what I've seen from Seattle. I think you can move it on that defense. I think Geno Smith is ripe for the picking here. And I think in a divisional game, the Rams beat them up early in the year. I think they're going to keep their season alive with a monster effort in this spot. I love the Los Angeles Rams laying the 1.5. So that's going to do it, boys, for our wisest wagers. Somebody wants to join the fun. Apparently, our boss, our pal, Bill Simmons. You never know where in the world the Podfather might be, but he ain't missing Ringer Wise, guys. Podfather, what's the play?
Hey, guys, it's your buddy Bill. I'm walking around here in the greatest city in the world, Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm thinking to myself, today's a 13-point tease day. 4 teams, all of them have to cover. Taking Dallas, under 2. Taking Miami, under 2. Taking Detroit to +5. And then, one of the great unders of the year, the Steelers-Browns under is down to 33. Let's take that down another 13 points to 20. They're not going to score 21 points. That is my 13-pointer in the best city in the world, Boston, Massachusetts.
Well, I have a lot to chew on there. Sal, I'm actually more upset with Bill calling Boston the greatest city in the world as Mr. New York, New York, than I am with that tease or parlay, whatever he put together. I'm confused, but that was worse. His take on the cities was worse.
Yeah, I honestly didn't hear the pick because I was laughing so hard when he said Boston was the greatest city in the world, which on FanDuel, you can get that at 750 to 1 right now. I don't know. Did someone spike his Dunkin' Donuts coffee with Molly or something? That made very little sense. And then he follows it with a 6-team 33-point teaser. I'm not sure what went out.
House, were you able to keep up?
It looked like he was trying to channel his best Boston Tea Party, but for me, it turned out to be a Boston Pea Party.
Yeah.
Because I can't, tolerate all these crazy numbers jumping across lines or whatnot. Boston, who can make any sense out of what Bill Simmons just delivered to us, Dream?
Yeah, that teaser was a disaster, and I don't know if that was a mistake because it looks like he had Pittsburgh and Cleveland under 20 points. That doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, you're teasing the rest of the numbers. I wish him the best of luck, but this teaser looks like a disaster.
Yeah, listen, Bill, I wish you well. You're not getting a wise guy blessing, especially when you go and proclaim that Boston's the greatest city in the world. I can't allow that. Not as Mr. New York, New York. Now, Sal, let's get into the SGP festivities. We all bring an SGP to the table. You're going to start the proceedings. What do we have in store for Sunday?
Well, I won it last week. I had that Lions-Chargers game, which, by the way, you could have had same game parlay just about any leg on that Lions-Chargers game last week, and it would have come through. This week, it's the 49ers, and I'm going -2.5 points. That's going to be a winner today, all right? That's easy enough. McCaffrey, 2+ touchdowns. You watched last week. He didn't score. He had a press conference. He said, guys, this is never happening again. I have to make up for my lackluster performance last week. He's going to have 2, maybe even 3 touchdowns. And George Kittle, 25 or more receiving yards. I think he had 265 in the last 2 weeks. We only need 25. This is a good one. Last week was good, too. What do we get? 352 on that, JJ? I'll take that all day.
I'm in. We got a note from Bill from Los Angeles, Boston, wherever he is these days. He just texted myself and our esteemed producer, Jack Wilson, over 20 points, Raheem, in the Steeler game. Does that change your opinion on the crazy parlay tease, whatever the Podfather put together? Sal says no.
I mean, I don't really want to bet on Dorian Thompson-Robinson to score points against the Steelers defense, but that makes a lot more sense. I was a little confused about that. I know a lot of people were taking. I know Sal had the under, so I kind of assumed that he would just be going to under. But
wait, hold on. The guy who thinks Boston is the greatest city in the world also thinks there's going to be a lot of points in the Steelers Browns game. Wow, this is not adding up at all.
20 points, though. My goodness. I mean, you might hit that under. It's 20 points. It's 20 points. All right. Speaking of fishy, speaking of stinky, it's now time, gentlemen. Week 11. Let's get made with Tommy. Let's sniff out those rat lines of the week. And I'm starting us off, and I'm going exactly in that direction. Bill mentioned it in his parlay. You mentioned it for your wisest wager, Sal. I think this Browns-Steeler game stinks. And I know you can put the Steelers in the rat line category week after week after week, but the Cleveland Browns are starting a quarterback that is like incapable of completing a pass, incapable of moving the ball, and yet they're 2.5-point favorites against the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. So I think that line is basically telling you the Steelers are not going to be able to move the ball. They're not going to get anything cooking on offense. And if I were to go and to play this game, I would play Cleveland and hold my nose and lay the 2.5. But I've had the Steelers, and I've gotten burned. There is no team house that has burned me more than the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's why, I wanted to include maybe Cleveland as the wisest wager. Can't do it. Won't do it. Just stay away.
Safety first. Stay away. That's the rule. Do no harm. And betting against the Pittsburgh Steelers this season has been very harmful. But I'm with you. I like Cleveland in this situation. I like Cleveland on the money line. I think they'll do everything they can to minimize the capacity of DTR to hurt them. In fact, I like the idea that I heard this week, that maybe the Browns should just punt on first down every time they have an offensive possession and let their defense just take control of the game. I think that's the way to deliver it. And how funny would it be if this game ends up being Browns win 13-7 and come under the Podfathers 13-point over tease?
Best bet.
Well, we shall see. All right, Sal, what's the right line of the week?
I'm going Bears-Lions. Last I saw it was 7.5. Goff was out of his mind, 333 against the Chargers. That was against the 31st pass defense. Now he's up against the 32nd pass defense. That's allowed 20 touchdown passes. That's what the Bears have done. That's worse too. We don't know how effective Justin Fields will be, and yet the line is only 7.5 against the 3-7 Bears in Detroit. I say proceed with caution here. The only thing I'm thinking maybe is the Lions are looking ahead to that Thanksgiving game. It allows for maybe them resting their starters in the fourth quarter and maybe a backdoor cover out of Justin Fields. But still, I think this is a good 1.5 off. The other thing you could say is the Bears have played them tough. The last 3 games, we've seen a 31-30 and a 16-14 between these two. So we have Bears plus Lions equals rats. Stay far away from this one, JJ.
So I get that, Sal, and I understand the line is working against the Lions. Raheem, they have been, unfortunately, if you bet in Chicago, one of the best teams at home in the NFL, and it seems like Jared Goff and that Lion offense, they just look different when they're at home as opposed to being on the road. Would that line movement scare you off, Dream, if you were thinking about taking Detroit today?
It kind of would scare me off. A big reason why is because I just think this is a divisional matchup, and I just think the Bears have always played the Lions tough. So I would be looking towards the Bears, to be honest with you.
I would agree. All right, Haas, what's your right line of the week?
Yeah, I'm also on a divisional game, and I just want to chime in. If I had bigger cojones, I would have bet the Bears on the money line today because I really like the situation for the Bears, especially with the look ahead for the Lions. But I'm over here in the NFC East with my beloved Washington Seawards laying damn near 10 points. I think the line is 9.5 points at home against the New York Giants. Now, look, Sal said a minute ago that there's no tanking in the NFL. We all beg to differ because here's the New York Giants trotting out Tommy DeVito, the backup from Syracuse, out here to try and play in a professional football game. But there is no circumstance under which anybody should consider laying this number. Washington hasn't covered anything like this line all season. They covered it 4 times in the last 3 years. This rivalry, 7 of the last 8 have been 1-score games. The last time Washington beat the Giants by more than 10 points, it's happened once in the last 25 meetings. It happened so far long ago, I can't remember it. Just stay away from this thing. The way to play it, if you want to have take advantage of the C words, who are looking for revenge here, just put them in a tease and it's fine, fellas.
Let me just can I clarify, JJ, for a second? I still firmly believe there's no tanking in the NFL. I also believe, and these are not mutually exclusive, that there are only 12 grown men in the world who could play the position of quarterback. So sometimes you get the two confused. Everyone's trying, but we're just not good enough to get there.
So you're right, but there are certain levels of ineptitude that we're seeing at that position. You're right. There are a lot of bad quarterbacks. The injuries have obviously dominated. It's been a major storyline here. DeVito is as bad as can be. And listen, I want to fall in love with the Jersey story. You know, Don Bosco prep. He's basically hanging out at the Sopranos house. The father's down in Dallas, belly aching about, 4th and 3 play calls like he's calling into New York. Like we want to root for that as New Yorkers. We want to root for that in the tri-state area. But Giant fans know the deal. Tommy, you dare to do a job, big boy. Go and get me the number 1 and the number 2 pick in the draft. So listen, I wouldn't take the Commanders laying 9.5 points, but have you watched Tommy DeVito? Stay away. All right, Raheem, last but not least, what's your right line of the week?
I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys at the Carolina Panthers. It's a classic look-ahead spot for the Cowboys, who also take on the Commanders on Thanksgiving. You look on paper, this is a game in which the Cowboys should just dominate, take this team into the deep waters, and drown them. But since 2000, home dogs of 10 or more are 82 and 54, 60% against the spread. The Cowboys, after a straight-up win, just 16 and 14 against the spread. And the Panthers, they run that zone coverage defense, and Dak Prescott isn't as good against zone as he is against man. However, I don't want to bet on Frank Reich in this Carolina Panthers team. Frank Reich coached teams 2-9-1 against the spread their last 11 games, 2-9 straight up, 3-7 against the spread as a home underdog. So this Panthers team is really terrible. They do have a good defense. You're looking at a defense who has just held the last 3 opponents to about 13.6 points per game. But this is just a bet that I don't want on either side, just because the Panthers offense is just abysmal. Bryce Young, you look at this offense, 31st in EPA per play, 31st in success rate, but you can't back the Cowboys here. Look ahead spot, just a bad spot for both of these teams.
So Sal, Cowboys, they lose to Arizona early in the year.
What?
You getting any? Well, I'm just
yeah,
reminding
you're right.
you.
Yeah, that did happen. Yeah.
That did happen. Is there any PTSD from that going into this game for you? Or no, not really.
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, your Dolphins bully the bad teams, but I can't even say that about the Cowboys because they lost to Arizona. And I agree with Raheem. I think this is a weird line, but I think it's the same position that the Lions in. I know the Lions are home, Cowboys are on the road, but maybe both looking ahead to the Thursday game, just do a little, just enough to win these games. I just think the CD Lamb Dak combination is unstoppable. 3 straight games, 10 receptions, 150 yards. That should be the difference ultimately. But yeah, I think that's a big number and a weird number. I could see that being a rat line.
All right, Raheem, it's like a fantasy draft. We're giving you back-to-back, to quote the John Sterling home run call, in a belly-to-belly. So the floor is yours for a little SGP. What do you got?
I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos -2.5 alternate spread. Got to go with the alternate spread because it is up to 3 on FanDuel Sportsbook right now, but I want that 2.5. And for the sake of our same game parlay, we're going to throw it in there. I'm not big on buying points, but we got to do it here. Javonte Williams over 64.5 rushing yards. Joshua Dobbs under 18 passing yards. Josh Dobbs under 1.5 passing touchdowns. So the biggest thing with this game here is I feel like I'm selling the Vikings at their peak. And when you look at the Denver Broncos, they have a solid defense. They like to run the ball. Javonte Williams has had 63 carries over the last 3 games. And then more importantly, they've held opposing quarterbacks to under their passing yards. You look at Jordan Love, 180 passing yards. It's Patrick Mahomes, 240 passing yards. Josh Allen, 177 passing yards. So I think they're going to hold Joshua Dobbs down. There's not going to be a lot of points in this game. So I'm expecting Josh Dobbs not to throw multiple touchdowns. And you look at Broncos games as a whole, they've averaged 35 points the last 4 weeks. So you're not going to see a ton of offense here. It's going to be a slow-paced game, a lot of running. So that's my same game parlay.
Well, Raheem, considering that I have a couple of shekels on the Denver Broncos already at -2.5, I might as well double the meat, double the action, and get on board with that SGP. That looks like a winner. All right, boys. We had a guest pick from the Podfather. We have another one coming in. Craig Horlbeck. Let's hear it, buddy.
What's up, wise guys? This is Craig Horlbeck. Got a 2-team teaser here for you. Niners at home, teasing them down to below a touchdown against the Bucks. Dolphins at home, teasing them down to below a touchdown against the Raiders. Starting in Miami, this team is getting Devon Achane back. They're coming off a bye. They're playing the Raiders. I think the honeymoon phase in the Antonio Pierce era is over. There's no way the Dolphins are putting up less than 35 points. This game has 70 to 20 potential, in my opinion. And the Niners, this team is finally back, healthy. Debo's back. The defensive line is better than ever. At home against Baker, less than a touchdown. Feels too easy to me, which is why I'm throwing it to you guys.
Can I just say that Horlbeck, and I know you were commenting, House, on Austin Gale and his tremendous appearance with the sash. I'm jealous of Horlbeck's hair. I mean, that is some fantastic flow he's got going.
All of the Ringer folks look good. I mean, we should have a handsome man contest maybe on one of these shows. Cerruti with his beautiful hair. Look at Craig Horlbeck. Mikey Meatballs was on with beautiful flow. I'm just sitting here jealous, fellas.
Yeah, I understand.
What is it with you guys, JJ? Every week you proclaim a different contributor as the best looking man on the Ringer. I mean, you're married a few weeks already. You're getting antsy. What is going on?
Listen, here? I call like I see it. I consider myself a straight shooter. So when you're a little envious and jealous of Flo, you admit you're a little jealous of Flo. Raheem, how do we feel about that tease with the Niners and the Dolphins?
At some point, we're just going to have to do a teaser lesson for everybody at the Ringer. You guys have to just stop teasing these games and not getting key numbers. It's just, you're not getting any value. Like at those prices, you're just better off playing a 2-team parlay with San Francisco and the Dolphins at their regular spreads because you're not really gaining anything. I mean, at 6.5 and 5.5, it's just not a good teaser. So I wish them the best of luck, as I always do, but this is not the wave.
JJ, you should be terrified. You should be terrified. Everybody and their brother has the Dolphins on a teaser or some kind of money line or some kind of eliminator today. Good luck to you.
Yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal, but that's why they play the games. And hopefully, there'll be some other crazy result in the NFL that screws people over. Hopefully it's not involving my football team and the Vegas Raiders at 1 o'clock down at Hard Rock Stadium. All right, we got a lot more coming up on this Week 11 edition of Ringer Wise Guys. It's time for Man's Best Bet. Raheem nailed a monster one last week with the Denver Broncos. Does he have another monster dog in store for us? And the Ringer Wise Guys, we're going to get to the table and we're going to put together our family meal involving all sorts of dishes that you can bring to Sunday and to Monday and to next week and beyond. Ringer Wise Guys, boys, coming right back. Welcome back to Ringer Wise, guys. And here's the lineup for Ringer programming that you can find right here on FanDuel TV. Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern. It's Joe House, Raheem Palmer, and this guy, John Jastremski, for East Coast Bias. We dive in. We get you set for all the NFL, the NBA action, and whatever comes across the odds board. And then on Friday, Cousin Sal, full cast of characters. Cousin Sal's winning weekend. You want to check that out Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on FanDuel TV. That's right, Sal. That's what you call reading a promo. We go from a promo to Ringer Wise, guys. Please advised. And Dream, this one's for you. Special for you. It's Bobby, also known as Prop Holiday on Twitter. My favorite player prop this week has to be Justin Fields, over 48.5 rushing yards at -110. He returns this week. Lions, 5-0 ATS against teams below 500. 7.5. Fields hit the line twice last year, ran all over Detroit. So, sir, over 48.5 rushing yards. Start us up. What do we think?
Yeah, I think I like this one. And I mean, the biggest reason why is because I think his floor is about 40 rushing yards. He's just coming back. I think they're going to do some more design runs for him. So I think this is a good prop. Shouts to Prop Holiday. That's my guy over there.
Is that your friend? He says he's your Twitter friend. Who's your best Twitter friend? Do you guys have Twitter friend bracelets? I want friendship bracelets. I want to know this.
I mean, I wouldn't say I have a best Twitter friend other than the people who actually know me in real life.
Okay.
I happen to know this guy. I've done his podcast. He's a good guy. So,
all right. So you actually, all right. So you're not just Twitter friends then, and there's actually a relationship there, Raheem, which I appreciate.
That's my guy.
Is he better looking than Horvath?
You're not going for like Twitter meetups, Sal.
Right.
We don't want that. We don't want Raheem going for Twitter meetups. That just sounds dangerous.
Exactly right. I think it's the same spot as Kyler Murray last week. We're like, I don't know what we're going to get out of him, right? And Justin Fields might be the same thing. Kyler Murray looked great. I'm not sure that he even eclipsed his rushing total, but we saw him run enough that he still has a juice. He still has it. So you have to maybe expect the same out of Justin Fields.
We shall see. All right, House. We've gotten 2 SGPs. We're waiting on yours. Pick us a winner, baby.
Well, I mean, this is a perfect setup for me because I'm on the Bears here, this Bears-Lions game. And one of the legs of my same game parlay this week is indeed Justin Fields over 48.5 rushing yards. So me and Dreams pal, we see the world the same way. Fields went over this number already a couple times this season. He's been around it 4 of the 6 games. He blew through this number both of the times that the Bears played the Lions last season. Both of those games, he was over 125 rushing yards. I like him coming back. I like the idea of the Bears installing some of the run into this game plan. But the other legs of this parlay, I like Chicago over 19.5 total points on a team total. I think this game has real shootout potential. People are sleeping a little bit on how bad the Detroit Lions secondary is. And my guy, Justin Fields, really had it cooking with DJ Moore before he went out with that thumb injury. So I think that the Bears might come with a combo pass run. The last leg of this parlay, Jahmyr Gibbs over 25.5 total receiving yards. The Bears they're very good at stopping the run. They allow a lot of running backs catching the ball and running with it. Gibbs himself over 35 receiving yards in 3 straight. And, you know, the way that the running backs against the Bears defense have been catching balls, this feels like an easy number at 25.5. So that's the parlay right there, fellas.
Well, I like the fact that our seamless producer extraordinaire, Jack, was able to tie in a little advice with House's SGP, and it's like this perfect seamless transition. This might not be a perfect seamless transition, but boys, it's time for man's best bet.
That transition sucked.
I thought so. I have to be honest.
Do it again, I know we're live, but do it again.
No, I was gonna say I'm giving myself a C- on that. I don't take mulligans unless it's the first tee box at Silver Lake. Then I'm gonna take a lot of mulligans. So it's now time for man's best bet. Sal, because you were so enamored with my tees, What do you got for us, buddy?
All right, I'm going to take the Packers plus 136 over the Chargers. This is a smallish dog, like a cheese dog. It's born in Wisconsin, so it's a cheese dog. Put some chili on it, like a chili cheese dog. You want it. You don't want to eat that dog that they're showing right there, but the one I'm describing maybe might meet your needs. I can't trust the Chargers as a favorite under any circumstances. It's either they beat up on cupcakes or last score wins. That's all their games, and I think Green Bay has a little bit of fight in them. Remember, Justin Herbert 2-8 against the spread in his last 10, where the spread is 3 or less. Now, this is a dog. This is an underdog I'm taking outright. But when that number is low and Justin Herbert doesn't rise to the occasion, I think it's smart to take the Packers outright. Love went for 283 against the Steelers. It was a very winnable game. He came up just short last week. 24-23 Packers. People are excited about the Chargers, and I don't think we're allowed to have nice things in the AFC this year. The Bills will probably be out. The Bengals, we know, will probably be out of the playoffs, and the Chargers too. So just get used to it, everybody. Chargers out. This game won't help. 24-23 Packers.
So I like the pick. I thought about using Green Bay. The only reason I'm not going to do it, Sal, is because I had them last week against the Steelers.
Can't hold
They
grudges.
should have won this stupid game. They didn't, because the Steelers just continue to be this cockroach, this cat with 9 lives that continue to torment me throughout this NFL season. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Raheem's wisest wager and make it my dog of the week. I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals, not just to cover the number. Look at Kyler and his pooch right there. I'm going with a big pooch at plus 190. And I understand my man's best bet record has been an abomination. So what I need to do here in order to get back in the thick of things is start taking some bigger dogs. I'm done playing it safe. I'm done going conservative. I'm taking a dog at almost 2-1. And the reason I like this spot, Raheem hit on it earlier, that Texan defense, you can move the football against them. We saw Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do that in Houston just a couple of weeks ago. I liked what I saw from Kyler Murray. And I kind of look at Houston as the team that everyone is going to buy in on this week. Hey, they just won at Cincinnati. They just beat Joe Burrow. Now is the time to go bet Houston. Wrong. We'll go the other way here. Arizona not only covers this number, let's get funky. I said they win outright. All right, House, what do we got? You've been the dog man. You've been the master of the pooch. So what's in store for week 11? Well, I guess he's going to have to wait. So, Raheem, we go to you. What do you got?
Well, with my win over with the Denver Broncos last week, I'm second to House. So I'm hoping that little blurb in House's internet is a sign of things to come, because I'm taking over. I'm taking over. So I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles plus 128. This is Jason Kelce and his Irish Wolfhounds. You hear a lot of talk about Andy Reid off of a bye, 18-10. But Nick Sirianni is also 2-0 off of bye himself. And when you look at this line, it just doesn't make sense to me. The Eagles were laying 2.5 in the Super Bowl against a better Chiefs offense, and now they're catching 2.5. So if you ask me, this line should be closer to a pick 'em than it is the 2.5. And you're going to hear a lot of talk about Mahomes as a short favorite, but I just think the Eagles are probably equally rated. You look at an Eagles team, they have a worse defense than they had last year. They're 19th in DVOA, 20th against the pass, but they're second against the run. And this Chiefs passing offense leaves a lot to be desired. You look at this Chiefs defense as well. 31st in rushing EPA per play, 24th in rushing success rate. So the Eagles should be able to control the line of scrimmage and be able to run the ball here. In addition, the Eagles are 22-2 straight up when Jalen Hurts plays the last 2 regular seasons. So I'm going to go with the Eagles on a contrarian spot. We know the public is going to be all over the Chiefs. I think they'll be able to pull this one out and get their revenge from what you saw in the Super Bowl.
So I'll be rooting for that pick, Raheem. Obviously, it would be beneficial to my beloved Miami Dolphins. The one thing I'd say, though, Sal, and we talk about this a lot, I know Raheem has mentioned it, and it's kind of been ingrained in my head. Anytime you get Mahomes as a small favorite, the numbers are just off the charts. So maybe I've been burned in way too many spots and way too many occasions going against him, like the Germany game a few weeks ago, or a couple of spots where he's favored by 2.5, 3.5. Chiefs beat him in the Super Bowl last year. They're a small favorite. I'd go the other way here.
Yeah, of course. What the definition of insanity, repeating the same mistake over and over. Yeah, I think that's it. Andy Reid off a bye, all the stuff we look at, all the bells and whistles. And Mahomes, as good as the defenses are play against him, he seems to thrive. I saw that the Eagles are a top 4 team in pressure rate, and that's where Mahomes is like 10-2 against the spread. So as long as this stays under 3, I'm either staying away or taking the Chiefs.
Well, it's Monday night, and it's probably the game of the year in the NFL. I'm not staying away. So me and Dream hit a big dog last week. Going with a little bit of a miniature pup here in this one with the Eagles and the Chiefs. All right, House, welcome back. I don't know if you didn't pay your internet bill. I don't know. We gotta talk to the Ringer and FanDuel about that. We gotta make sure everything's straightened out. I'm a little nervous about you, but it's time for your dog of the week, dog man.
Well, it could be the fact that I'm going against the family here. I hate to do this. I hate to be in this position, but I am on the Minnesota Vikings at plus 126 at Denver. Look, we have the 2 teams on the longest winning streaks in the NFL. The Vikings on a 5-game streak, the Broncos on a 3-game streak. And you just have to make a judgment here when these 2 teams are pretty close by lots of different metrics. Which one seems to have the more reliable, sustainable situation? I think that the Vikings have the better defense and the more reliable weapons, even with my guy, Justin Jefferson, and his beautiful dog still waiting to make the return here. The Broncos have won 3 straight by playing ball control offense because their defense has gotten much better since taking that 70-point beating at the hands of the Dolphins. You can't really run on this Vikings team. They're allowing less than 4 yards per carry, the 5th lowest amongst all teams. And the big thing to me is Russell Wilson against the blitz. That poor guy has sack stress disorder. You could see him anticipating contact. You could see him trying to not get hit back in the pocket. He's not moving around the way that he used to. It's also a short week for the Broncos coming off of, that tough game against Buffalo. I like it. It's right in that category of, 2.5, 3 points. So grabbing the dog here feels fine to me.
Okay, so I'm on the Broncos. Raheem's on the Broncos. You make the case for Minnesota with that Flores defense and the emergence of Joshua Dobbs. Sal, where are you taking sides here? You sign with House or you sign with me and Dream?
Well, I'd be silly to go against House. He's the king of the underdogs. He hasn't missed an underdog since 2006 or something. But I do like the Vikings anyway. I'm proud of this game in general because think about in the beginning of the year, to think that this was going to be a night game, the way Denver was playing defense and the way, Kirk Cousins was losing 1-score games and then he goes out. The fact that we're looking forward to this in prime time, pretty good job, Vikings and Broncos. I like it.
That's an excellent point. I mean, the Broncos gave up 70 points to the Dolphins. The Vikings lose Kirk Cousins for the year. And I'm actually weirdly excited to watch Vikings and Broncos as we wait all day for Sunday night. Speaking of waiting for a guest pick, there's somebody who knows us and has been a part of every show with us week after week after week. So we figured it was only right that our producer and wizard extraordinaire, Jack, got on board with the fun. All right, Jack, what do you got, buddy?
What's up, Wise Guys? Your buddy Jack here. Look, nobody has listened to more Wise Guys takes in the last 10 weeks than me. And I'm ready to put all this wisdom to good use with a bet for week 11. I thought about going with a dog in honor of House, the king of the dogs. I thought about maybe the South Classic, Steelers to win the first half but lose the game. But I'm going to go with a 6-point teaser. I like the Lions and the Jags. I think the Lions make quick work of the Bears at home. And with the Jags, I know Derrick Henry kills them normally, but they have the 5th-ranked defense in the league right now, stopping the run. So I think they can keep him in check as much as they need to. If you tease them both down, it's just too good to pass up. So hopefully this lives up to the Wise Guys standards. But if this is a square bet, I'm sure JJ and Raheem will let me know. All right, let me know what you think, Wise Guys.
We're back. I thought we were getting thrown off the air. I was concerned. I had to make sure my internet was paid for. You never know what can happen on a football Sunday with the Ringer Wise Guys. But we did just hear Jack's 2-team tease. Raheem, I got to applaud our guy he followed a teaser rule. He listened to Professor Raheem Palmer.
I really appreciate it. This is the best teaser that any of our guests have done the entire year. Typically, you got guys teasing off of key numbers, just creating these teasers that don't have any value. This has the perfect value, and I think you're going to end up hitting this. So congratulations to you, to Jack, for, putting together a decent teaser. We approve it.
Can I just say, JJ, how ironic is it that our showrunner Jack gives a pick, a pioneer in the industry? He's worked with Shohei Ohtani and Alex Curry, and as soon as he gives his pick, the video goes solid and flat and frozen. How great is that? How great is that happened?
Well, and you know what? You could blame me because I named Jack our wizard extraordinaire, and I think the wizard of Ringer Wise Guys decided to throw a little monkey wrench into this particular production. So good luck with the picks. I like them, by the way. And what I guess my question to you, House, would be, it wouldn't be to you, House, because I know where you stand. You like the Bears in this spot. What would scare you more, Sal, out of those two legs? Would it be Detroit or would it be Jacksonville? Which favorite worries you a little bit?
Well, it scares me that a lot of people, much like your Dolphins, are taking the Lions on a teaser. But I just don't know. I know Jacksonville has to get back to their winning ways eventually. They had won like 4 in a row before they lost to the 49ers. And then everyone's like, oh, no, they're terrible. They're awful now, Jacksonville. But Tennessee has been bad. I just wonder if there's that flair. Are we going to see the Will Levis against Tampa Bay, or do we see the Will Levis who is like a bottom 4 quarterback since then? So I actually think it's a solid teaser, but maybe Jacksonville, because that AFC South is so wacky, is the one that would give me concern.
All right, guys, time for me to get on board with the fun. I got my SGP, and to the surprise of no one, I'm going back to the well with a Dolphin game. So I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins at 6.5. I'm going to lower that spread a little bit. I'm going to take Jalen Waddle, which, by the way, should be a prop bet if you watch Ringer Wise Guys Weekly, because that finds its way into the show more often than not. Waddle go score a touchdown. Jacoby Myers, 4+ receptions. And then I'm taking a fellow JJ, of course, Josh Jacobs, 50+ rushing yards. That 4-leg parlay gets you to plus 606. So I like it. I know Sal's going to say everybody's on the Dolphins. Raheem, out of those 4, which one would scare you the most, buddy?
Out of those 4, it would probably be Josh Jacobs. And the reason why is just because I think the game script can lend itself towards the Raiders needing to pass early and often. So that's the only one that concerns me.
I understand that, but Antonio Pierce has made a point of emphasis. Hey, we're running Josh Jacobs no matter what. I think even if they're getting smoked, he's probably going to get his touches, probably going to get his burn. All right, let's take a look, boys, at who's in and who's out for the Week 11 injury update here on Ringer Wise Guys. And a lot of good news there. Keenan Allen in, Garrett Wilson in, Devin Achane in for the Miami Dolphins. That's a big one. No Justin Jefferson yet. No Dallas Goedert yet. So that's our injury update for Week 11. We go from that, guys, to a little eye on the future. And we have been thinking about how these Super Bowl odds have been moving quite a bit. Obviously, Cincinnati losing Joe Burrow for the year is going to change a whole lot of things within the AFC. House, when you see the big board right now for Super Bowl futures, where you have Kansas City at 450, you have the Niners and the Eagles in that 5-1 range, Dolphins and Ravens a little under 10-1, Cowboys 11-1. If there's something that stands out to you and maybe something we should look to invest in now, what would that be?
So I'm off of the top of the board here, and I'm trying to look down the board to see where some value is. And I think that there's a combination that I like specifically, and it has a lot to do with the relative health of the defenses of these two teams. I like the idea of putting the Dolphins and the Cowboys together head to head in a Super Bowl. I think that specific matchup in a parlay for them to win their respective conferences is like 33-1 or 34-1. And we've been making a joke all season long about the Dallas Cowboys being bullies against bad teams and the Miami Dolphins being bullies against bad teams. And they have been. That's exactly how they have, all the rankings and the stats that they have. But very quietly, those defensive units feel like they could be coming together. Dallas has survived the Trayvon Diggs injury, and Miami's getting bodies back and is finally getting a version of this Vic Fangio defense installed. So I understand, this is really just about the numbers. But you look at the war of attrition we're having with quarterbacks. We just lost another one. These are two of the remaining, 6 to 7 teams that still have top tier quarterbacks, the Dolphins and the Cowboys. So I'm leaning in that direction for the value of it, also for the comedy, if we're honest.
What, JJ, if that happens, are we sitting next to each other, you in the middle, flanked by me and Raheem at the Super Bowl in Las Vegas?
God, done. And not only that, House, I will get every meal for you in Vegas that week if the Dolphins are playing the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. You can save the video.
That's a
I
problem.
might have to. I took out loans a long time ago. I said I wouldn't do it again. I may have to go see a lender if we're talking about the Dolphins and the Cowboys in the Super Bowl for the content, the comedy, everything that would boil down to just absolute bliss for the guys here at Ringer Wise Guys. Raheem, when I look at this board, you know what I think about? And I don't think this team necessarily is going to win the Super Bowl, but from a value standpoint, if Detroit can get the 1 seed, if I can get them where they're at right now, that to me is a bet worth making. If they're the 1, now again, they got some work to do. They got to win. They need some cooperation from the Niners and from the Eagles. But with their schedules, I don't think we'll get Detroit at the same number if they're a 1 seed in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. There was 2 that stood out to me. It was the Detroit Lions for the reasons that you stated, but also the Jacksonville Jaguars. The biggest thing when it comes to doing these Super Bowl odds is that we know that the best path to get into the postseason and to get a home game and to get a bye is to win your division. Well, you got 2 teams in the Detroit Lions and the Jacksonville Jaguars at 13-1 and 17-1. They're playing bad divisions with no challengers. And so I expect them to beat up on those bad divisions and, get a home game in the postseason. So I think that creates value for those 2. So those are the 2 teams that I'll be looking at, even though I don't necessarily believe that they're going to win a Super Bowl.
Sal, what do you see there on that odds board that you like?
Yeah, we're all over the Lions here, even though I don't love them this week. 31-1 odds for Lions-Ravens. We saw that game a few weeks ago. It was a disaster, but maybe if they matched up in the Super Bowl, it would be a little more competitive. I think we might be sleeping on the Lions. Everyone looking at Philly and San Francisco. Of course, I want Dallas to jump in there, but Lions could have the 1 seed. Philly with a tough slate. You might be looking at a 14-3 Lions team. Then the Ravens they're the best team when they're playing their best. I think we could say that about them. And really, who's going to be the 1 seed in the AFC? Everybody's got 2 or 3 losses. Raheem brought it up. It could just as easily be Jacksonville as it is the Chiefs. But I think Baltimore at their best and a Detroit team that pulls an upset or 2 could be huge hedge potential if they were to make the conference finals. I wouldn't know how to hedge it, but
Sal, how concerned are you about the injury to Mark Andrews? Because he was a big part of that offense, and he is Lamar Jackson's security blanket.
Well, I didn't hear about that. I have that game DVR'd, but thanks for ruining it for me. No, absolutely, that's a big thing. And, I think Keaton Mitchell and the running game would have to step up considerably, and the defense would have to get healthy. But the Ravens have the pieces in place if that happens.
Well, guys, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, which will be next Thursday or this Thursday, I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to miss the Thanksgiving holiday. We are going to introduce the Ringer Wise Guys family meal, where each of us brings a course to the table for you, the viewer, and we're going to dive into a variety of different entrees and all sorts of juicy stuff from a food and from a wagering standpoint. So, House, rumor has it, Mama House makes antipasta. You're bringing the antipasta. Let's go.
This is a House family tradition. This is the moment of abundance. This is a plentiful moment. We have plenty of double-digit favorites this week. So, look, I understand that the Podfather tried to be a little exotic. This is the proper way to play a double-digit tease. You get a 10-point teaser, a 4-legger. We're putting the Cowboys in, taking them from 10.5 down to a half point. We're putting the C words in. Now, I know I'm jumping across the 0. I'm not supposed to do that, but I got to get to my 4th leg in. We have the 49ers going down all the way to 3.5 and the Dolphins down to 4. It's an even money, abundance, plentiful 4-leg, 10-point teaser. Let's everybody eat.
Let's eat indeed. I mean, I just want some of that antipasta. You guys have the olives, and I'll eat the rest, and away we go. So, Raheem, what are we bringing to the Ringer Wise Guy family meal, baby?
Okay, I'm gonna go with the Vikings +9 and the Bills -1. Two teams 6-point teaser. I know this took the Denver Broncos earlier this segment, but you look at this Vikings team, all their games are one-score games. Every single one of them except for one this year. That was a win over the Packers in which they won 24-10. So I expect a low-scoring game with neither team running away and hot. And so I'm going to take the Vikings +9. You crossing up those key numbers of 3 and 7. That's the way you do a teaser. And then when you do, the Buffalo Bills, I look at it like this. If Zach Wilson beats me, so be it. They've gone 11 straight quarters without scoring an offensive touchdown. Zach Wilson is dead last in every statistical category. And, since week 5, the Bills are 8th in effective play, first in success rate on offense. If they could just stop turning the ball over, just stop giving the ball away, they win this game easily. So those are my two-team teaser.
Well, gents, when I come to a holiday, Mom makes a mean linguine clam sauce. And the linguine clam sauce got multiple components, right? You have the linguine, you got the clams, maybe you throw in a little galama, and away you go. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a 3-leg parlay in the spirit of some linguine clam sauce. And to Raheem's point, Buffalo, they're not losing to Zach Wilson and the Jets. Kansas City, I know this goes against Stream's underdog, but I'm getting Mahomes at a small favorite. And then the Detroit Lions. All I need them to do is win the game. Chicago could cover. Detroit goes and wins the game. That's combining the 3 elements, Sal, of our little linguine clams for a segundo dish. What do you got for the final portion of the Wise Guy family meal?
I love it. Well, I'm worried that I'm not doing a teaser or a money line parlay, so I may ruin everyone's appetite. Is that allowed, JJ? Can I just do a player?
Well, you better not bring stale muffins. You get into trouble if you bring stale muffins. I learned that the hard way last year at Thanksgiving, so be careful.
Nothing stale about the Dolphins over 30.5. It was 29.5. I liked it a little better than that, but guaranteed ingredients are the player returning. Devin Achane, you talked about it. He's the garlic. He gives this offense taste. He missed like 5 weeks and still leads the league in 20-plus yard plays. He's great. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle there, the oregano and the breadcrumbs. We're going to have Mama House confirm it. I don't even know what we're making here. It sounds delicious. Raiders 19th in the league defensively, 335 yards per game. Patriots, Panthers, Giants, Chargers, Broncos, all allowed over 30. Add the Raiders to that. 41-26, great fantasy game. Dolphins over 30.5.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, because that would be the perfect way to wrap up a Ringer Wise Guy family meal with the Dolphins going and dropping a bundle of points on the Vegas Raiders. What a fun show. Hope everybody out there has a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. For Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, John Jastremski signing off. We will be on our digital platforms, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff, breaking down the rest of the action for the next half hour. That's going to do it here on FanDuel TV. Wise Guys out. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy the football. Be good, everybody. Welcome back to bonus time here on Ringer Wise Guys on our digital platforms. If you need a reminder of who we are, Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, John Jastremski. Sal, you like that? You like that?
I do like it, yeah. Yeah, it's good.
That was much better than my transition earlier in the show that you hated. So
yeah, you're getting better. Unfortunately, we're in digital time, so it doesn't matter as much.
I was gonna say, so now it's like hitting golf balls after your 18 holes. You know, it's like, oh, you made a putt on the putting green. Whoop de freaking do. So we still have a lot more to do in the next half hour. We'll get to a couple of honorable mentions. We'll hear from Kevin O'Connor, who's gonna bring some basketball acumen to the show in addition to all the football stuff that we're doing. But guys, before we do some honorable mentions, we have another email. A wise guy, please advise. Let's get right to it right out of the gate. Here we go. Hey guys, love tuning in to America's #1 pregame show.
Wow.
What a guy. What a guy, Rhett. You are a loyal viewer. We appreciate it. This week, I'm going to muck it up all over again and tease the Lions down to 2 and the Steelers up to 8.5. I like DTR, but I think it's going to be close. And these Bears can't keep up with the Lions for 4 quarters, right? That's Rhett. Raheem, Steelers up, Lions down. What's more concerning?
This is tough. I'm going to say Lions down just because I think this is a good chance to where the Lions could slip up. They could be looking ahead to Thanksgiving. I like the Steelers teaser for, even though there's sharp money on the Cleveland Browns, I like the Steelers teaser just because that total was so low that the points are a lot more valuable.
Sal, you on board with that tease?
Yeah, I mean, I have the same thoughts of the Steelers as you do. They're a weird team. They're a weird offense. But yes, Raheem is right. If the over-under is around 31, 32, 33, if you could get close to double digits in the Steelers, it makes all the sense in the world. And we talked a lot about the Lions. This could be a game where they're tripped up. But ultimately, I think he's right. 4 quarters, maybe 5 quarters it takes for the Lions to eventually beat the Bears.
Well, gents, the honorable mention in many ways is a survival game in the AFC, and that's between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. The Jets, with Zach Wilson at quarterback, continue to be brilliant defensively, and they leave a whole lot to be desired offensively. Haven't scored a touchdown now in 2+ games. How embarrassing is that? And then you have Buffalo. They just fired Ken Dorsey. They lose a heartbreaker, and a just bizarre game against the Denver Broncos a couple of days ago. House, this line has been creeping towards Buffalo the last few days. Now it's north of that number of 7. Where do we stand? Jets, Bills, Sunday at 4:25.
I hate this line. I absolutely support the idea of this being the most important game for the Bills this season. The Bills cannot lose this football game, but I don't want to have anything to do with a number north of 7. I didn't really like it when it was at 6.5. This Jets defense just plays Josh Allen so tough. We watched it the first game of the season. The only way the Jets are in games at all is with that defense producing turnovers. They force a ton of turnovers over Josh Allen. I just don't want to have anything to do with laying the points, even though there's no scenario under which the Jets can score. This is another game where the Jets might be like the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Cleveland Browns, better off just punting on first down so that their defense can get out there and produce a game-scoring turnover.
You know, one thing I'd say about this game, though, Raheem, the Jet defense has played Allen very tough over the last few years. They beat him in week 1. They beat him last year. Zach Wilson, as crummy as he is, actually has 2 wins heads up against the Buffalo Bills. He beat him last year in November. He beat him in week 1 coming in for Aaron Rodgers. The problem I have, though, is when you have an offense that hasn't scored in 2 weeks, I'm taking Buffalo in a tease. Like, I thought about it. Like, the way I'm playing this game is I'm not messing with the points, but at the end of the day, is Buffalo's season going to come to an end on Sunday? Because they lose this game, Raheem. The Buffalo Bills, as far as I'm concerned, to quote you, my friend, they're Larry Holmes status.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like when I first saw this line, I did want to play the Jets, and it's very tempting considering how the Jets have played them in the past. But at some point, they just can't continue to trot Zach Wilson out there. At what point does this team quit on the head coach? At what point do they quit on Zach Wilson? So I just think you just reach a certain point to where you just can't back this guy under any circumstances. They should have won that game against the Raiders last week, but it's the Bills are a teaser or pass.
Listen, can I just say this? If you don't think the Bills are going to compete in the next 6 weeks, then don't take them today or take the Jets or whatever you want to do. But if you do think this has to be the spot, like you said, JJ, if they're not inspired by the fact that they lost a game when Aaron Rodgers went out on the 4th play and they still lost that opening week, added to the fact that it's been 55 drives since the Jets have scored. And by the way, one of their scores was against the Eagles, and they let them score. The Eagles let Breece Hall score on that drive. If the Bills can't get there, you know what, together, then it's over. It is over. And really, we should be playing the Bills on the teasers more than the Lions this week.
I would agree with that. There should be a sense of desperation for Buffalo. And if not now, then when in 2023? All right. We hear from our two whiz kid, analytic, football. I don't even know what to refer to Selak and Sheila.
They're the most handsome guys on the ringer. They're the most handsome guys.
We use that too often. We have Kevin O'Connor coming up. So I already have used that stock answer. But our extraordinaires with extra point taken with some picks. Let's hear from the fellas.
All right. We are back with our locks of the week. All right. Benny, so I've got 2 that I'm definitely going with, and then I've got 2 that I'm picking between for my third one. So we'll see how this goes. I've been struggling. I'm a volume shooter, as I've told you. All right. What do you got for your first one?
Yeah, I like this slate a lot. I have more on spreads this week than I typically do. There's 2 that I'm for sure I'm taking this week for our contest. One is Steelers plus 1.5. Like I said, I like them to straight up win that game. I think that the Dorian Thompson-Robinson disadvantage is a big one. I don't think the Browns. I'm assuming you have the Steelers, by the way.
I don't have it, but have you taken the Steelers in this contest? Because it is not fun when that offense has the football and you have the Steelers.
Listen, I haven't.
I'm just telling you that.
I don't need to be invested in the Steelers in this contest for me to say it's not fun and not have a good time. Steelers plus 1.5 is definitely one of mine. Okay. Dolphins minus 12.5 against the Raiders at home is another one that I like a lot. Dolphins are coming off of the bye. This offense, people talk winning records, losing records. When this offense runs into a bad defense, they tend to just absolutely steamroll them. Even when they want to take their foot off the gas, they can't because they just have so much team speed. Also worthy of note, Dolphins defense, Jalen Ramsey back, Jalen Phillips back. They've been improving week over week. They've been getting better as they've settled into the system. You got a rookie quarterback in Aiden O'Connell. I think it's going to be really tough for the Raiders to move the football. So Dolphins minus 12.5 is the other one that I like. And then, like I said, third one, I have a bunch that I'm thinking through. You want me to run through them now, or you want to talk through yours?
No, let me tell you the 2 that I'm doing because one of them, I'm on the Dolphins too. So here we go. We're 3 for 4 when we're on the same side?
I think that's right, yeah.
Okay, we're 3 for 4 when we're on the same side. Minus 12.5 against the Raiders. Yeah, I like that one. Dolphins at home, 4-0 this year, and all 4 wins have been by at least 14 points. And I agree with your point about the defense. That defense has been coming on. They are a lot better now than they were early in the season, which is probably to be expected with a Vic Fangio coach team. So I don't think that Raiders offense is going to be very successful. All right, other one I'm definitely taking, Titans plus 7 at the Jacksonville Jaguars. We have spent a lot of time talking about the Jacksons. Listen, maybe the Jaguars get it together and they blow them out of the water. I could see that, but I haven't seen enough from this Jaguars team to trust them to cover 7 at home against this Titans team. Then the other one I'm looking at is the game we mentioned earlier, Cowboys minus 10.5 at the Panthers. Big number for a road favorite, but like I said earlier, I just don't know that there's a bigger talent disparity in a game this season than in that game. And the Cowboys are generally pretty good as front runners, as favorites with Dak Prescott. They pour it on, and I watched that Panthers offense, and in my head, I can't envision a scenario where they're stringing together 2 scoring drives with multiple first downs. Now, you get that thought in your head, and then you sit down Sunday, and something different happens. But those are the 2 I'm thinking about. What do you got?
And so that's one where I lean Cowboys. That's not particularly on my list. Chargers minus 3 absolutely is. If you take it, I won't take it. I'll do another one.
All right, I'm taking it. You gave me the offer.
Go for it.
So
I know who I want for my number 3.
I've got Chargers minus 3 versus Packers, Dolphins minus 12.5 versus Raiders, and Titans plus 7 at Jacksonville. I feel good. I feel good about these 3 this week. I'm bouncing back. Give me a 2. Just give me a 2-1. I'm not even asking for a 3-0. Just give me a 2-1. All right. What are you going with now that you so generously in the holiday season gave me Chargers minus 3?
I'm going to take the Rams at home plus 1 against the Seahawks. Now, this line opened, look ahead was more than a field goal. When it reopened after Sunday, it was a little bit less than a field goal. And so don't really like the Seahawks' ability to kind of move the ball at will the way you'd expect. I still think it's going to be decently high points. You're going to see some explosives. You can see the ground game get going for the Seahawks. But I do feel like these teams are fairly evenly matched. I get home field for the Rams. I get Stafford coming back healthy. I like Los Angeles to cover.
I'm on that side too in my column, and I'm looking at the spreadsheet. When Solak has a lock that coincides with my pick in the picks column, hits 60% of the time. That's nice. Both of his picks, the Steelers and Rams, coincide with my picks column, and I didn't pick them. So maybe that's the sweet spot. I'm too dumb to pick the right picks for this contest.
We're back on Ringer Wise, guys and fellas. We get to welcome in one of the big stars over at the Ringer, guy who likes to dabble in some NBA basketball. So I can already see House percolating, because when I mentioned basketball, it just, look at that smile right there. I think the only thing that would have House smiling more is if we were teeing it up at Bayonne or Liberty National and it was like a 75-degree summer afternoon. But Kevin O'Connor of Ringer NBA fame. Hello, sir. Welcome to Wise Guys.
Thank you, Wise Guys, for having me. How are you doing this Sunday?
We're doing great. So you now have to shift gears a little bit, because you do a lot of your pontificating and your analysis and your research on some basketball, which we will get to, because I have some questions. The boys also have some questions. We want to make some money down the road, which will be helpful to all of us. Especially because I just put a big chunk of change in my sister's wedding gift yesterday, so I need that chunk of change. But anyway, KLC, you get to do some football. So you get to come on. You get to pick a couple of games. I'm going to let you go right here. Game one. What are we thinking?
Well, let's do an Arizona parlay. I got to tie it to basketball a little bit somehow to make sense for me here. So with an Arizona parlay, it's the second week back for Kyler Murray and James Conner. So let's go with the Cardinals with the points, but let's tie that to the Suns, who also have their star back for his second game with Devin Booker. Devin Booker back for his second game. He's looking like a double-double machine. He's running point for them. So we'll go with over 7 assists for Devin Booker, with the Suns covering the spread and the Cardinals with the points for a little bit of a Arizona parlay NBA NFL crossover.
Well, you know I like it, Raheem, because I'm on the Cardinals and you're on the Cardinals. KOC, that's my underdog of the week, and the Cardinals plus 5.5 is Raheem's wisest wager. So, Dream, we know we're on Arizona from a football standpoint. Can you get on board with the Suns and Devin Booker?
Yeah, I can definitely get on board. I like this pick.
So we get an endorsement from Dream. Sal, I don't know if you're getting that exotic. I don't know. You seem like you're out. I don't think I'm going to get your blessing on this one.
I like the Cardinals. Wow, God bless Devin Booker for coming back, being in the lineup. He's actually maybe, if he plays his cards right, he won't be eliminated from contention for the MVP voting. I think, what do you have 65 games? He might, after Christmas, he might be out of the running.
Fair enough. House, you on board? We taking this?
No, I'm on board. I love the Booker assist portion, especially because he handles the ball. He handles all the point guard duties. He's definitely not worried about Bradley Beal stealing any assists away from him. That's a guy who's already ineligible to win any postseason award, because there ain't no way homie's getting to 55 games this season. Congratulations, Phoenix, for taking on Bradley Beal. But I like the Booker portion. I want Booker to be healthy. Let's go, DB.
All right, KOC. Now, we're going to be distracted on Sunday because we got a ton of football to watch, but there's money to be made in the association. So give us a play in the NBA that kind of caught your eye as you were going through the board.
So going through the games today, I mean, it's interesting that the Pacers have the number one offense in the league right now. The Magic, surprisingly, have the number one defensive rating in the NBA, and those teams are facing off today. So it's a clash of different styles. The Pacers have a terrible defense. The Magic, their offense is not so good. But I think with the Magic getting 5 points here against the Pacers, this should be a close game. The Magic have the type of personnel to keep things competitive against Indiana's offense. And I think with Orlando in their last game, they started using Gary Harris, their best three-point shooter, in that fourth quarter, feeding him shots, helped improve their spacing. Felt like it could give them a bit of juice offensively, or maybe they just outright win this game against Indiana. I think that an Indiana team has kind of been a league-wide kind of one of the favorites, the darlings that everybody's loving watching. But the Orlando in their own way, if you like defense, have been equally satisfying to watch. So I think that'll be a close game today between the Magic and the Pacers. So I'll take the Magic with the points.
Well, KOC, we were big on the Pacers going into the year. I know the East Coast Bias boys looked at them as a team that could go over for their win total, looked at them as a team that could be capable of going and making the playoffs. So, Raheem, I feel like I got a soft spot for the Pacers just in general here. They've been fun to watch early in the year. What do you stand on the Magic +5?
So from a numbers perspective, this makes sense. My model makes this 4.1. So at 5, I get where KOC is coming from. The concern for me is that you're looking at an Orlando Magic team who is on the last game of their 4-game road trip. And, you know, they played the Brooklyn Nets and then they played 2 games in Chicago. And now you got to go to Indiana. And Indiana's been off since Tuesday. Like, this is a team who's just well rested. And you look at the last 2 Bulls games, they had massive leads in both of them. They couldn't hold on at the end. And when I look at this Magic team, I see a team who is probably the worst clutch team in the league. Like, this is a team that struggles to score in the clutch. So if you're doing that against a Pacers team who can score your last game of the road trip, I think this could kind of get away from them. And I think they could pack their bags and get ready to go home. They play Toronto on Tuesday. So I can't get with this one.
KOC, this just came from our buddy Simmons. Actually, it came from Simmons, I think, 24 hours ago when he was in Boston, because now he's in football mode. What do you think of this? I'm thinking of betting it right now on FanDuel. Pacers to make the playoffs, Hawks to make the playoffs, Miami to make the playoffs. Then that means you're one of the 8 teams. No playing. That means you're one of the 8. You're playing an 1-8, 2-7, the whole deal. That parlay is a little over 2-1. Would you endorse that parlay? Atlanta, Miami, Indiana, all to make the playoffs.
I think that's a pretty good bet right now. I mean, at this current moment, Atlanta's the 9 seed, so you'd be betting on them to win in the play-in to grab the 8 seed. That feels pretty good. I think you're the teams that are out right now: Detroit, Washington. Sorry, House, they're not making it. Charlotte, Chicago, Toronto. I don't feel like any of those teams besides the Raptors could rise up the standings. Like, I think we're starting to settle early in this season right now for the teams that feel as like good quality playoff bets. So I do like that right now with, if Indiana falls off, that'd be the only question, but I'm not expecting that to happen. I like them as you guys do.
All right, KOC, your final play here is a futures board as far as the rookie of the year is concerned. And we know what the narrative and the storyline has been since really the NBA draft. It's Wemby season, Wemby. You want to go a little contrarian here, which I like. We like that on Wise Guys. We like hearing some value plays. We like hearing some different thoughts. How we handicap in the rookie of the year market?
So I think we might be entering a point here where it's the last week or so where Chet Holmgren's not the favorite. The game he had last night, hitting the game tying 3-pointer off of movement against the Warriors on the road, I felt like was like a cherry on top of what was his best game of the entire season. 30+ points, continues to dominate on defense. You can say in a vacuum that Wemby is more talented than Chet, but he has a far worse situation with San Antonio. Chet is on a winning team. OKC is for real. And Chet Holmgren is the best rookie on one of the best young teams in the league. So plus 250 for Chet. This could be the last week where he's not the favorite. And if you really want to go with kind of a guy who's like a little bit off the radar at the moment in terms of the gambling odds, Brandon Miller at plus 4,000 or plus 5,000 right now. 29 points last night. His usage is ticking up, getting a little bit more pick and roll each game with the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball starting to get going. Maybe with those guys developing some cohesiveness on the offensive end of the floor, Miller continues getting more opportunity, and his scoring numbers could get up so much that you're betting on him to actually figure out his 3-point shot, which I believe he will. He's a good shooter. He's just been cold to start the year. So Miller, like at that low number, I think is pretty good odds if you want to place a small bet there as a guy who could be a sleeper to win rookie of the year. Because I think he'll eventually move into like within plus 1,000, plus 500 at some point. If you're betting against Chet and against Wemby, I think Miller's scoring could be a good bet. And plus he's been really good defensively too, individually.
This is a very, very big moment in Ringer history, JJ, because KOC is bucking the trend, and God bless him for doing so. Forget everything he said about Miller. I have I have Chet Holmgren at plus 450 to win Rookie of the Year from the beginning of the year, and he is better than Wemby. But God forbid anyone say it, because Simmons comes on, he's like, I'm going to go see Wemby play. I'm going to see him play the Clippers. I'm skipping my wife's birthday to go see Wemby play. So everyone's like, oh, my God, we have to talk up Wemby. Well, Chet Holmgren, 56% from the floor. Wemby, 44% from the floor. All the other stats are equal, and Chet's going to make a difference, as KOC said, for Oklahoma City. Chet's the pick.
I like it. I like it. I like it. All right, KOC. Let's show the futures board for this year's NBA champion. There are a lot of options here. Boston obviously is the favorite at plus 370. But the Boston team's got to show they can get over the hump. Milwaukee, I think, is a little overvalued at this point because they don't play a lick of defense. They're at plus 420. The champs, Denver, never a bad bet with Jokic at plus 440. The overrated Phoenix Suns at 650. The Warriors, who are always a threat, at 14-1. Philly, 16-1. KOC, full disclosure, I don't want to see the Celtics win because right now Simmons should be miserable, right? He should be miserable about the fact that the Patriots are a disaster. The Red Sox, like the Yankees, stink. I don't want anybody but the Celtics as far as I'm concerned. And I know you're a Boston guy too, but that's okay. I just gotta throw that in there. Where can we find value on this board? Because I don't like betting favorites to begin with. So I'm out on Boston. I'm out on Milwaukee. If I'm going to go and bet somebody to win the NBA title now, who should I take?
Well, I mean, if you're looking for value, it's not the Celtics, Bucks, or Nuggets. So you're looking past those teams. The Warriors at 14-1 are surprising to me at this point. I feel like they feel like a team that might be falling apart right now. I like the Sixers at 16-1. They have the motivation to make a deal and add to what is already a good foundation with Embiid looking like even better than his MVP year last year. More handoffs, more movement, more passing from him. Maxey looks like a most improved player candidate, and they have another move to make. So Philly at 16-1 for the Eastern Conference. And then in the West, I don't think Minnesota's going to go all the way to the finals, but 28-1 is really good for a team that is bucking the trend of in terms of their playing style. They can play with two bigs with Cat and Gobert. They have Naz Reid. They have three really good bigs. Anthony Edwards is ascending this season, looking like a more seasoned version of himself as like this elite athlete. He's playmaking at this point now too. So I think with them, they have a great defense. They have a rising offense. So Minnesota is one of those teams where maybe if the things break right in the postseason, they could go all the way to the finals.
House, you would nod your head when I heard Philadelphia 76ers. Are you going to do it, buddy?
I mean, it's not a shock that KOC stole all my thunder with that because, you know, it's been demonstrated every time KOC and I get together, we make sweet hoops love together on these podcasts and over the airwaves. Well, look, you know, when you're trying to cash some winners out here, 16-1 for the Sixers, the whole point of that bet is there is a trade for them to make. They have all of these assets, and they're in a perfect position to bring in one more guy, and they're showing the league that they're an attractive option. Come join us. Like, you know, Milwaukee is nothing. They have a long way to go yet to demonstrate that they have title potential. I'm fading them all season long, to be honest with you. So this is really just, will Boston arrive at playoff time with full health? Well, they have Kristaps Porzingis on that team, and that's a pretty, you know, dicey proposition. So if you're looking for value, 16-1, the Sixers are the play there. And this is why KOC and I walk out hand in hand once again.
Raheem, you throwing in any future right now in the NBA? If there's one that you see there from the title perspective?
Yeah, I gave this one out earlier, and I think you got to take it now. You're looking at Oklahoma City Thunder, 80-1. They're not going to win the NBA title, but this has real hedge and cash out value. Those of you on FanDuel Sportsbook, you can place the bet, and as these odds drop down, you can cash out and get some value on it. But I think this is going to have real hedge potential. If you look at the top four in the West right now, Minnesota Timberwolves, Denver Nuggets, Dallas Mavericks, Oklahoma City Thunder, they're all pretty much tied. And Oklahoma City is fourth in the standings right now. So at 80-1, I think it's worth a little sprinkle. The one thing that we're seeing from the NBA this year is that it feels like a changing of the guard more than any other year in recent history. And You're looking at teams like the Golden State Warriors. KOC mentioned it. He's kind of shocked about how bad they look. But you look at Klay Thompson. He's Larry Holmes status, flabby and sick. You look at a team like the Lakers. They're 7th in the conference right now. Anthony Davis just looks old at certain points. So I just think you're going to see more and more younger teams come up. The Minnesota Timberwolves, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, the Denver Nuggets are there. But if this Oklahoma City Thunder team finishes, top 3, top 4, you're going to be going into the playoffs with a ticket that's probably going to be, let's say 20-1, maybe less than that. So I just think you want to place this, just put some beer money on it or something, and then you can hedge or cash out later.
Plus, with OKC, they're one of those teams that they can make a move too. Sam Presti has more assets than anybody in the NBA right now. And he had his long 2-hour media day presser before the season. And he was asked, when are you going to make a move? When are you going to cash in? He's like, we're going to wait for the right moment. Well, the team looks really good right now. Really good right now. They have an MVP caliber guy in SGA. Chet Holmgren, we're talking about him. We all love him. A ton of good role players in that team. If the right guy does become available, they could easily bolster their odds come February trade deadline time as well.
Intriguing.
Yeah, that's a real good point. I mean, you look at last night, SGA, he just goes head to head with the top guys in this league, and he's probably a top 10 player right now. And then when you look at the Western Conference, they're second in point differential. So I think KLC made a good point about them being able to make some moves, and if they do, they're going to be right in the thick of things.
All right, boys. Before we say goodbye, weekly special. FanDuel puts them up. We got you covered for Week 11 in the NFL. Sal, I'll start with you. How wacky we getting?
I'm going with your team again. I mean, they're a big part of this bet. 7-1 odds that you can get for Dolphins, Raiders, highest scoring game. I talked about it earlier, 41-26 final score. Aiden O'Connell is going to get introduced to the notion of garbage time stats right there. JJ's Dolphins light up Vegas like a F1 Ferrari car yesterday. I don't even know if that happened. Did anyone watch? 41-26 final.
All I know is that Vegas strip looks like an absolute nightmare. House, we still go with the highest scoring game. What's going to be the lowest scoring game?
Well, I'm looking at lowest scoring team, and this number's been bouncing around all morning because people out there can't figure out who they want to fade the most. Lowest scoring team, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers because I believe that the only way for the Cleveland Browns to win this game, and I think they're going to win this game, is to hold the Steelers close to a shutout. This could be, hearkening back to some of those really putrid games, the AFC North of yesteryear, like a 10-7 kind of game. But that means you have to hold your nose and grab the 10-1 with the Steelers and hope that the Giants, I guess, get to 10 points and the Jets, I guess, get to 10 points. It's hard to go against those New York teams, but the Pittsburgh Steelers at 10-1 against that Cleveland defense, that's my play.
All right, KOC, now you get involved. What's your weekly special from FanDuel?
Let's have some fun with this one with any 4 of these 5 players to score at least 1 touchdown. ETN, Eckler, CeeDee Lamb, Mostert, and Tyreek Hill. All of those guys have been heavy with touchdowns this season. Obviously, Mostert has 4 touchdown game earlier in the season. He's got their backup running back coming back this week, but I think at least 4 of those 5 guys feel like a solid bet to get a touchdown this week.
I like it. A whole lot of scoring. Raheem, weekly special, sir.
I'm going to Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill combined for 225 receiving yards plus 500. Tyreek Hill could probably hit this himself against this Raiders defense. And I also think the game script is going to lend itself towards the Raiders needing to pass. So I think we probably get there. Tyreek Hill's 120 yards per game. So I like this one.
All right, I'm going to have some fun with this one. It's Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, and Tua to combine for 7 touchdown passes. I know quarterback play is a problem in the NFL. Maybe this will be a Sunday where we get some air scoring and we get some passing touchdowns. I think those 3 guys go and get me 7+ touchdowns. Well, KOC, thank you for joining us. For anybody who is looking to consume all of your outstanding content that we can find on The Ringer, where can we find you?
Listen to the Mismatch podcast with me and Chris Vernon. We're twice a week, every Monday night and Thursday night, covering the NBA.
Well, we look forward to that. Don't be a stranger. And hopefully you're not going to Boston for the NBA Finals this year. I know a certain founder of The Ringer. I know a certain boss of ours is going to be happy if he's staying tuned for the digital time. But, Sal, nobody pokes the bear better than me and you.
No, he did a good job. And if he does go to Boston, he will be visiting the 37th best city in the United States of America. So at least you'll have that to look forward to.
Yeah, KOC, I know you're a Boston guy, but the crew was very bothered by Bill's take about the greatest city in the world being Boston, Massachusetts. I know it's a lovely place, but as a New Yorker, I just couldn't allow that to stand on Ringer Wise Guys. You have to understand that, right?
The North End is pretty good. Other than that, Boston's fine.
Wow, see, KLC.
This is more dangerous than bucking the Wemby trend, I got to say. Good for you.
I knew I liked you. Good stuff. For Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, JJ John Jastremski signing off. We'll be back next week, 11 a.m. Eastern. Ringer Wise Guys, after we consume all these great meals. No linguine clam sauce for me until Christmas Eve, but for the Wise Guys, I worked it in a little early. What can I say? I'm craving the white sauce. What can I say? Boys are out. Cash all your tickets. We'll see you next week. Be good, everybody.